Okay, and hi there, welcome to Marble Halls TV, and I have to apologise for the prior attempted live vid. For some reason my audio wasn't working, but I've been able to get something done, as it were. So it should be okay for now, hopefully. So yeah. But yeah, it's been an eventful last week. My apologies for not being able to be on. Um, but there have been some, shall we say, interesting events in the Arsenal world since I last since I last was on the did a video. Um, First thing first, Ben White came, um, and yeah, we signed him for £50 million, and yeah, I think he may turn out to be a pretty decent signing. We lost the first Mind Series match, which is like I think there's a friendly for mental health awareness, or series of friendly, I should say, between Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham. I believe we're playing Tottenham tomorrow at their new White Hart Lane, but we lost to Chelsea 1-2-1. And my views on that are that, all right, cool, it's a friendly. You know, neither side was at absolute full strength. We probably had slightly more first team players than them, or I should say absolute first team strength, if that makes sense. Because Xhaka wasn't playing for us. Ben White, you would say, has to be our first strength. He was on the bench. Kante was on the bench for them. But they still had Havertz, Ziyech, Werner, Pulisic, Mendy, Rudiger. So that's about 7 players there. So to say it was a reserve team, I think is stretching it a bit. But on the game itself, I thought both teams had chances, but I just think it was bad finishing on our part, bad luck with the offside goal. Not offside, what am I saying offside? With the goal over the line. Obviously, there's no VAR goal line technology for just a friendly. It doesn't make sense. Um, and also, the uh, yeah, bad defending. Really, I think for both of their goals because we let them in too easy. Um, but yeah, oh yeah, and the Partey injury, which doesn't look as bad as one may have thought, but it's obviously unfortunate all the same. So yeah, um, but yeah, and also Granit Xhaka is also staying, and I want to talk about that too. Um, so yeah, so I want to go through a story that it seems like the contemporary transfer don Fabrizio Romano himself has talked about. So yeah, he's saying Granit Xhaka has a new contract with Arsenal until June 2025 with an increased salary confirmed and compete with his agents after Roma talks collapsed. Now, actually, that reminds me, there's a specific thing I want to share. Um, and that's not disrespectful to Wenger before anyone says anything, but that's what it generally reminds me of. That's something Wenger used to say that pissed a lot of fans off, and rightly so. Um, but look, my view on Xhaka is that he's not my favourite player. Um, he's not my favourite player. To be fair, I don't think he's ever been the right profile of. I don't think Xhaka is an objectively bad player, if that makes sense. I just don't think. I think a player like Xhaka, you have to get the proper system and configuration to to fit him in. And to be fair, I don't think we've ever done that. I don't believe we've ever. I don't believe we've ever done that. Um, that said, he's not really done himself any favors on multiple levels with his in terms of his temperament, in terms of his yes, there was the Palace incident, which was not a good look. Well, that's an understatement. But you know, I think it was best for both parties if they moved on. But if Roma are not really um, prepared to pay the proper value, and let's be frank, we think they should. Um, I can understand it, but I just don't think Granit Xhaka's the right fit for us and never has been. I think people always can think, oh, we could have got Kante. And, Kante then and even now, he would have been a far superior player for us in terms of profile. I don't see how you can dispute that. So, what's done is done. He's here. You can't stop him. So, yeah, we'll have to roll with it. But it's against my like I say, against my better judgment. I'm not the one who gave him the contract, so I can't say that. But let's just say I have reservations, and that's probably just So for me, it is kind of Wenger-esque, and as I say, it's not to dig out Arsene Wenger, but I just think he has. That's just something that reminded me because it is like a new signing. Um, but yeah. Um, Okay, then. So, next story I want to talk about is some transfer news. Um, Leicester's James Maddison. Now, the thing with Maddison is that, say, a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, people were seriously comparing him to Grealish. I think Grealish has taken a step up. I think Maddison's form has been a bit iffy. Yeah, he's had injuries, but he still is a good player. The thing with Maddison is that this is just my opinion. I did not think at the start of the season we needed a number 10. I thought Smith Rowe, Saka, a stretch could play there. Look, shit, even Willian. Where there's no European football, so there's no need for, you know, I think we have enough options there. But the priority for me was really, the priority for me would have been, what's his name, central midfield. Yeah, even though Xhaka's staying, I still think we need another central midfielder of a different profile to Xhaka. Smith obviously was always going to stay, I think, despite the Villa bids. But Maddison, there were links to this like a month ago or so. My view then and to now has not changed. In principle, yes. Hell yes, I'd like it. In practice, I think it would be a nice to have. Is that a bit spoilt because Maddison obviously will be a big signing. We've already got Ben White, but I still think that central midfielder. Okay, let's put it this way: if we got Maddison and White, we've got backup left back in Tavares, we got backup CM in the Conga, but I still think we need somebody who's more ready-made um, to be Boris Johnson-esque in terms of sayings, oven-ready. We need an oven-ready midfielder, like a not like an up and coming or kind of like a Congo. So that's not to be spoiled and say yes, I'll take Maddison. I think he can develop further, even though Grealish I think has taken a step ahead. Obviously, he was even though he didn't start many games in the Euros, he was one of England's better players, I think. Um, so yeah, I believe. Excuse me. I believe, yeah, it's something that would be a goer for me, but I still would like a central midfielder. Um, So this is a story from Chris Wheatley. Obviously, he must have connections in the club, um, as do most journalists these days. But yeah, so yeah, that's one story down. Um, also want to talk about this Martinez thing. So just bear with me till I find the story. Um, yes, I'm just trying to find something from. Okay, here we go. Um, so yeah, Lautaro Martinez to what's his name? He's currently the champions of Italy, the La Scudetto holders. Um, Inter. And to be fair, this is from Ornstein a few days ago, but it still is relevant because we are still in for him. So Ornstein's saying, and speaking with Inter Milan about Bellerin, Arsenal inquired on Lautaro Martinez, 23-year-old striker from Argentina, Copa America champion and La Scudetto winner, is for sale, and Arsenal thought to have mentioned Lacazette, but Inter need cash and hope it helps them keep Chelsea target Lukaku. Now, from what I gather, well, as I say, this is a few days out of date because this was from the 31st of July, so that's what, 3, 4 days ago. For what I can gather, Chelsea have put in a bid for Lukaku today or this evening. Well, today. So really, Lukaku is sorry, what am I saying? Martin is obviously Copa America winner, La Scudetto winner with Italy. I believe, um, I believe he's one of the best up and coming strikers in the world. So if we could pull this off without being even in Europe, let alone the Champions League or even Europa League or even Conference League, that is a coup. Now, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I like Lacazette. The thing is, Lacazette, his time, people forget he was our player of the season in 18-19. And I think if there's one fault of Lacazette, I do believe it is that he doesn't score enough goals. I don't think he's prolific enough, but overall, I think he's been a reasonable player for us. To say he's been shit for us when, frankly, he did win player of the season. That's not being shit, is it, in any description? So I don't know. I don't like that revisionism that people have, but that's by the by. Um, Again, like Maddison, in principle, I take it. Does that mean you have to put Lacquer on the bench, even Alba on the bench? Balogun has signed on, he needs game time. Should we still got Eddie and Ketia, whom I don't rate personally. I don't think he's to the level that Arsenal need now or in the future to get where we want to be. Um, and then there's what's his name? Martinelli. You know, he definitely needs game time. I think Brazil reached the Olympics final. So look, shit, he could be an Olympic champion. I think he and Gabriel, I believe, are both in the squad. So they could both come back as Olympic with their gold medal, Olympic champions. Um, so yeah, Martinez for me is very similar to Maddison. Yes, I'll take it. I think he's one of the up. If we can get that done, and Maddison, and even another CM, could it be Basuma? I'll take Neves. Even look, shit, even a Ward Prowse, I would take. I think he'll do a good job. And then, yeah, I think that's very good. Um, the only thing though is that we are overloaded in the striker position, And again, in principle, I would keep Lacazette. I think he's a good player. I like what he brings to the team. I like his technical profile. I think in many ways he is technically better than Aubameyang. Aubameyang is a better finisher overall, but in terms of overall technical play, I believe one has to say that what's his name? Lacazette is better in terms of how he can drop deep. His control on the ball, his touch on the ball. So yeah, that in principle I wouldn't mind it at all. And also there's one story I want to touch on again. Actually, you know what? So Hector Bellerin. Actually, hang on. I just want to find a story. I'm just looking for a Bellerin story from a journalist, so it has more, well, not credence, but at least I can describe. It's a Bellerin contract. So just bear with me. I'll use this. Well, at least it's from a verified account. So yeah, the Bellerin contract. Now, my view on Hector, or Hector, to use a Spanish pronunciation, is, well, I've got nothing against Hector, but I do think that it's time to move on. He had 2 good seasons with us, 14-15, 15-16. The last 2 seasons under Wenger, he was poor. But then when Emery came, he did improve, to be fair, but he got injured. He spent time out, and then he's been okay-ish in the last year, 18 months. But again, I still don't think he has done enough. And how old is he? 26, so he's not young anymore. He's in the middle of his career. I just think we need to move on. I don't think he's ever going to be a top level fullback, and I've got nothing against him. But I think it's time. I think it's time to move on. I think it's time for a new challenge. It's time for a new. It's time for a new scope. It's time for a new horizon, really, for both him and us. So for him to stay and most likely be our mainstay fullback is not good. We should be looking to do everything to get back into that top 4, and not by keeping players who got us in, or not got us into this mess, who are not at the level, is not what it. Excuse me, it's not really not really good. Let's be frank. So yeah, that's just my view on the Hector thing. Both that and the Xhaka thing for me are not opportune things and really make us look silly. They really do. I really share the sentiment where it says that Bellerin new contract and 3 laughing emojis, and that's just how I see it. So I've got nothing against Hector, but I think we really need to move on from him onto something new. And I just have one last story I want to talk about. So that's Wenger um, going to Switzerland. Now, look, Wenger for me, well, look, he's our best ever manager. And even though he did fuck up badly towards the end, yeah, he won a few FA Cups, but I think that uh, I think that he stayed on too long. Um, and I'll look at this Kenyan website, but well, they must have verifiable news. But yeah, so there were links to him going to Switzerland to manage him, but he's actually said no. Um, does he want to manage again? I know when he left us, he did say that he wanted to get back into management quickly. Probably got no offers, or maybe the offers that he got were not substantive enough. Who knows? So he's now head of global development at FIFA. He obviously does punditry for Bein Sports, and surely, you know what? I just had a thought. If Amazon Prime or any newcomer to the Premier League gets him as a pundit, they'll get bare ratings. If someone has to do. No, they got Mourinho doing punditry. If they can get Mourinho, they can get him. Why not? Because I think Wenger's a very good pundit. I think he's an excellent pundit in terms of how he explains things. He's obviously very charming. So, you know, maybe will Wenger ever manage again in his life? Who knows? But I think he'll obviously always be in football in some capacity. Um, and yeah, that's just you know, I'd like to see him though. You know what? I'd like to see him in management somewhere. Even if it's like say, even if it's like say a PSG. I actually think that'll be a good gig for him because Wenger's strengths were that he didn't, I think his strengths as a manager or his philosophy was that to be hands off in terms of not directing them strongly tactically, but getting the best from them psychologically and physically and technically. He liked strong characters that could do their own thing and express themselves. His job really was just to manage, was just to get them in physical preparation and just to basically guide them from a coaching and technical standpoint. Um, and that's part of the reason he had the major success with us. Certainly in the first 9-10 years of his tenure. Obviously not so much or not to the same degree as he did in the latter part of his tenure. But I think if he goes to PSG, that I think with the players that they have and the players they will get, I think that could be a good fit for him. But yeah, as I say, Wenger really has. Personally, I venerate Wenger. I wanted him to go probably a few years before he did because I did not think he was going to change. I thought, things were done. He would not progress. He wouldn't improve. But I wish, I want to see him back in management and back in a big club and winning things. As long as when he plays us, he doesn't beat us, but that's by the by. But yeah, also going to international management, I'm not sure he'll like that because he spent all of his career in club management. And international management's different in the sense that you're really only judged. Well, actually, I was going to say you're only judged in every international tournament. That's not true because you have qualifiers and there's no guarantee you're going to qualify for any country. So, but even still, you only have in between qualifiers. How often are qualifiers? Once a month or twice per month at the most. So in between then, you're seeing games, you're scouting, you're you know doing technical reports. Is that something Wenger wants, or does he want the hands-on approach? Um, so yeah, um, as I say, I'd like to see Wenger back in management, but I can't. Well, it's interesting that he has turned down the Switzerland job. Right, so that's that. A longer video, but I just needed to cover a lot of things. So I believe I covered everything. That's the Ben White signing, the friendly. We lost to Chelsea barely. The Martinez Maddison links, Hector and Xhaka staying. So I believe that's everything I've covered. So, or everything of substance that's arisen over the last what let's say week or so. So yeah, I believe we play Tottenham. I think it's tomorrow because I record this on Tuesday in the last our last Mind Series game. So I believe Chelsea are playing Spurs. So yeah, so yeah. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time. I'll do my very best to do video tomorrow because the transfer window is moving mad. So I'll do another update on basically, yeah, the transfers and shit and stories to come. So yeah, thank you very much.